was in the legislature in 2007, I read on the floor of the House statistics from David Walker, who at that time was U.S. Comptroller General, and less than a year and a half, now this has been a year and a half, our debt has skyrocketed since then, but David Walker released a report on December 17th of 2008 that indicated, he tried to put these numbers in perspective, and the analogy he used as far as our debt is that the debt is, and it's not 11 trillion, folks. That is not the totality of our debt. When he points out, when you count what he calls fiscal exposures of the federal government, in other words, future promises, our debt now is in the $57 trillion area. But at the time he released this report on December 17th of 2008, he indicated that the debt was 53 trillion or 53 and a half, and to analogize that, he pointed out that that was comparable to every household in America having an additional $455,000 mortgage with no home to show for it. And these are the costs that we pay in that insidious tax called inflation. Inflation is nothing more than a tax, folks, and it's the tax we pay on government deficit spending. How did we get here? I want to make 2 points. Number one is we have forgotten the Constitution. And let me make an analogy here. We talk about this economic stimulus. You know, when a thief puts a gun in my back and takes all my money, you could say that's economic stimulus for him, couldn't you? It doesn't do me a lot of good, and what we're doing isn't doing us or this lad here and these youngsters any good. But that's how they've defined their terms. In 2008, we had our first economic stimulus bill. That was the conservative bill, okay? Under the Bush administration, passed by the Congress, and all three of our congressmen voted for it. That was $152 billion, okay? And some of you perhaps got a check from that, and I got one, and I still have it. And I will not be cashing it, and I've had it for several months, and I'm going to send it back. And I won't be part of that game. And right on the check it says economic stimulus payment. Well, I'm not for sale, and so I'm sending it back. But bottom line is $152 billion. That's the conservative plan, right? This last one passed recently that is coming down to the states was $787 billion. We could call that the liberal economic stimulus bill, okay? So there's the difference and there's the choice. We too often see things as the conservative side and the liberal side. But let me ask you a question. When do we consider the constitutional side? Both of those bills are wrong and unconstitutional and have no constitutional authority to be appropriated. And let me just bring you up to date. I have the votes right here. Montana's share of this $787 billion stimulus bill is $880 million. It's House, and to accept that, the legislature introduced House Bill 645 in the legislature. It passed the House on a 65-35 vote. I have the vote right here if anybody wants to see it. It passed the Senate yesterday after 4 hours of debate and offers of 20 different amendments. Some of them passed, some of them failed, but 20 different amendments to decide where this money is going to go. There was no discussion about whether we should take the money or not, except from a couple of legislators, and one of them, by the way, is your senator right here, Greg Hinkle, who is, in my opinion, one of the best in Helena. And he voted against that bill, but it passed the Senate yesterday. So Montana, through its legislature, has said the blood money. We'll take it. I think, and quite frankly, I was mentioning to somebody here just a bit ago that when some of the other states, governors of other states, suggested that perhaps they would not take the entire amount of the economic stimulus money. But by the way, the bill is called, they've got a fancy name for it. It's implement receipt of and appropriate federal stimulus and recovery funds. You know, I mean, folks, if government spending and deficit spending and debt was going to create prosperity, then we should be extremely prosperous right now, because that's all we've been doing for a couple of generations. Well, anyways, our governor was, and quite frankly, I found this shameful. That was some of those governors, they weren't going to reject all of it. They just suggested that they might reject some of it. And Governor Perry from Texas is in the news now because he is all of a sudden standing up and saying we're going to reject some of this money because there's too many strings attached. Well, nobody brings up that it's unconstitutional, but our governor was proud enough to say that, well, if you don't want it, send it to us. I find that shameful, quite frankly. So it's not a matter of conservative or liberal folks, in my opinion. It's a matter of what's constitutional. What's our standard? You know, let's be honest, has not the goal of the conservatives, however you want to define that term, in the last few years been to simply move this slowly? Has there been a vision of victory at all? Has there been any advocacy of getting back within the boundaries of the Constitution? Well, let me suggest, in my experience in 4 terms in the legislature, that's not even a discussion. We continue to play this game as if government has unlimited money in the bank, politicians can continue to find themselves in public treasury. Let me say that we have, in my view, because one of the ways we get snookered is that as a society we've got into this notion and didn't agree with the over there. He asked me to talk about